This is the Costa Rica San Jose National Stadium, and this is a gift from China. Yeah, I know it is $100 million gift from China, and you're thinking, why? Why would China be so charitable and build such a massive building for Costa Rica? All right, the reason is simple, and that has to do with the fact that it's got something to do with Taiwan, and Taiwan had a story that apparently China was looking for support against Taiwan in the and Costa Rica was one of the first countries in Central America to give the support, and as a thank you they decided, well, we're going to build. There is a motorcycle event at the moment at the stadium. I'm just going to check that out and then we'll continue with the story. So the stadium is not open yet, so you have security people, everyone. So I think there is a sort of an expo of motorcycles. So anyway, a lot of people are here and trying to enjoy the fun. So the point is that when China was looking for global support, Costa Rica was willing to oblige, and because of that, more people here, and because of that, a lot of people were Costa Rica said, okay, we'll support you against Taiwan, and China said, okay, here is a $1 million stadium for you. Now you were thinking, it's just, here is $1 million, go and build it. If they had done that, there was the building was still be in construction. But that is not what China did. China said, look, just tell us where the location and we'll build the stadium for you. And what they did was they brought about 800 Chinese workers. 800. It's massive. Of course, they probably had more, some little help from the local workforce. But the point was that China was like, we're bringing our own people. We're bringing all the infrastructure. We're bringing all the cables, all the steel and little dogs and all the things needed. And they built this stadium in record time. Another angle of the stadium. It was impressive. And I could remember when it opened. They brought in stars like Shakira to come and, just hit up the place. It was a lot of interest. It was basically interesting times. And guess what? Since then, the stadium has been used by a lot of musical stars like Paul McCartney. Coldplay came here to play, and the stadium was packed. People from all Central America came, people from far away who couldn't get tickets in other countries where Coldplay played came. It was just that good. And then there are events like the bike stunt night, you have motorcycle stunts, a lot of events actually take place during in the stadium. All right, as I said, of course, China given Costa Rica some impressive paintings or photos here. Really nice. Of course, unlike the old European style of doing business, what China, okay, they also selling t-shirts here that you can buy if that's what you want. So unlike the old-fashioned way of doing business where you just come in, take over the land and just rule, and all that ended, China's like, no, we don't want to rule, we just rule by proxy. we build this massive stadium for you, and in return you give us other things like the Chinatown and all these other things that they build, and that was rather interesting. That said, since then there have been some controversies surrounding the stadium. For example, anytime there is an event here, they purposely did it where you don't have any parking space. And for example, there's a guy there, and the guy is, oh, there's a queue here. The guy basically is charging for parking $30. And you're thinking, $30 for parking just beside the stadium? Yes. And that has been the complaint about the stadium, that how could you build a stadium without any parking facilities and only private parking, like the one there where the guy with the sign says, come and park your car, 15,000 colones, that's about $30. And for that is really insane, really expensive. So what has been happening is they've been scamming people. On the other side of the stadium, you have a green, well, the park, the sort of the central park of San Jose, the capital city of Costa Rica. You have the central park, and in the central park you have a lake. When there's during dry season, it's just dry, nothing in there, and during rainy season, well, you have the lake. Ducks would come and chill there, and people often would just wander around the park. People roller skating, doing tai chi. People come to play baseball. It's just a nice park in the center of the city, and a lot of people actually enjoy the experience. This is another look of the stadium from this angle. It's quite I think it has about, say, 35,000 seats or something like that, but it's quite big. So anyway, in the park, when there are events, and people have been complaining that the city should do more to provide public parking, and because they were not providing public parking, the adjacent roads that you have here, what has been happening is that it's quite customary for people when there's a parking or like street parking in Costa Rica, that you have when there are events, you have street parking, and then someone with sort of a security, like sort of a jersey, yellow jersey, will come, and people with yellow jersey will show up, and they say, hey, look, I'll watch your car. And people are not really surprised that someone will say, yeah, I'll watch your car, because it's just normal for people to do that. And then you pay them I don't know, $1 to watch your car, and it's just a sort of a local business that people have around the area. So with that in mind, the park here that you can see here is where on the other side you can park your car there. It's just free. But then when there are events, all these people with yellow jerseys will say, hey, I need to park, I'll watch your car, and then they fix the price. Instead of you paying them like $2 before, all of a sudden they've increased the price. They say, oh, it's $10 per person. And you're thinking, it's free, why do I have to pay? And you're like, location, it's now, you just have to pay, and that's it. So what happened was that people complained, and then one day the transit police came, because people parked their car there, and the transit police what they do is that if you have an infraction, and instead of giving you a fine, you basically they take your registration, they take it out of the car. That means basically it renders your car useless. You need to go and pay the fine and fix whatever needs to be fixed, and then come back. So with that in mind, the problem is still ongoing, and we still don't have a full any type of parking, public parking. It's not as if they don't have space. I mean, look at, you have the greenery here, and it's quite huge. It goes all the way to the other side of the park, and the stadium here, behind the stadium, it's all over there. They have space, but they just decided it's not a priority. And I think the promoters of events at the stadium are now thinking maybe we need to do something about it. And partly because there are parking space closer to the center of San Jose, and what they're doing is they are forcing, well, you have to go and park there if you want cheaper parking, but they know also that when there are events you can jack up the price, and that's what they've done. This is police on horses, and they're here of course to keep make sure people don't misbehave, because it does happen. Anyway, so because of that, a lot of things are in play, where people who have their parking closer to the town wouldn't want you to build any parking space here, because then it means more people coming to the stadium would just use a parking here instead of going to further up. And the problem with going further up is that after the event you need to walk for about 30 minutes or 40 minutes to get to your car. Most people don't want to do that, so they park near here. But the problem closer to here is that you don't have enough parking, and that is a problem that they're still trying to fix, which I don't think there is any desire to fix until maybe, you know, the mayor of San Jose says, okay, we're just going to do it. And there's space that what they could also do is bus people in. So basically they drive anytime there's events near the stadium. You have a lot of people coming to sell food, so you either eat before you get into the so like brochette is like I don't know, $2 you get for that. Okay, anyway, so yeah, what they could do with the traffic is to more street food. So what they could do is have the parking further up, like this is what they do in other bigger events. So they have a free shuttle. So you pay for the parking, and then you just jump on the shuttle, and then you they bring you to the stadium. They get you closer to the stadium, and then you leave. On the way back, you get the same shuttle. But like something like that in the US, of course, you have to tip the drivers. So you're paying indirectly, probably not a fixed amount, but you're still expected to pay. Basically, nothing is free. Just like the stadium that was supposed to be free, $100 million is not free. All right, so there is something also very linked to the stadium, which is there's a friendship bridge that was built by, I don't know if it's Taiwan, a while back, and this friendship bridge that was built was also to entice, basically it's just like diplomacy. They want a lot of people to come and do business in Costa Rica, if it's fishing, if it's any other natural resources that you have. So those are the type of things that people have. And anyway, so now the next move is to go to what's it called? Is to go to what Costa Rica has to give up. So there is Chinatown, and that is the next stop. This is Chinatown. And like in most countries, you have Chinatown for the simple reason that it's Chinese diplomacy. And talk about Chinese diplomacy. Remember, we talked about the stadium. Yes, part of. You see, some people say, "Oh, it's because Taiwan and all that story that they gave up." But the truth is, it's simple. Chinese diplomacy, they've moved away from the colonial mindset that the Europeans had when they ruled the world. And China has decided it's going to go a different road, which is about infrastructure. And that is why they built the stadium in Costa Rica. And that is why they brought all the workers in, because they could have just given the money to Costa Rica and say, okay, here's the financing, build it yourself. We'll probably still be waiting for the stadium. But they decided they were going to build it themselves, brought the workers in, do this, and most likely some of those workers actually stayed. Street music. So now, is it quid pro quo? Probably. And this is the way the Chinese actually do it, because something that's been happening, and a lot of people have actually seen recently, like you have the store here, is that in Costa Rica, a lot of the little corner stores, or called pulperias, a lot are now being managed by Chinese, and they buy the businesses and they just open it and run it. And a lot of the local businesses cannot really compete for the simple reason that the Chinese work hard. They are willing just to stay there for. They open really early and then stay open till really late. But most businesses or local businesses, this is let me see, the Chinese are really nice. All right, so anyway, so it gives you a feel for Chinese, where we are at the moment. So you have a lot of stores like this, and these stores are of course Chinese shop, because now you're in Chinatown. And the reason is that it's very busy. It allows China to also directly trade in Costa Rica. And this reminds me of something that happened. There's Chinese drinks and ice cream. Anyway, this reminds me of something that happened, I think, somewhere in South Africa, or anyway, Southern Africa somewhere, where a lot of the people who they had their own Chinese import. So they go to China, import their product, and then they started to sell it. And then some Chinese Asian companies came in and bought a full warehouse, so to say. Yeah, they bought a full warehouse and started to import directly into the country, and started to cut price, which meant the local businesses who were also importing couldn't get the same rate like the Chinese got from this is when the Sanzé, loads of things to buy here as well. So anyway, so they couldn't get the same sort of discount like the Chinese businesses got. So the Chinese were basically pricing them out of the market, and they had to go to the government and try to ban the Chinese from doing that. Yeah, it's just a competition. It's very similar to when the Chinese started to get into electric vehicles, and they decided, hey, we can do this cheaper, and they were competing with all the major brands like Tesla and Hyundai. They had electric hybrid cars. It was just impossible to compete with them, and that caused now that people are boycotting Tesla, it meant it's going to be very difficult to compete, because now what they're doing is preventing all these people from importing Chinese electric vehicles into the country. And now you have more Hoka Asian street food, empanadas, and then Chinese fried rice and all this good stuff. So I think this is absolutely amazing. So the fact is, everything is linked together. I think what the Chinese basically are doing is this: you need infrastructure. We build your infrastructure because we have a surplus of labor. I was going to say surplus of labor. They have a lot of people working, and so it's not a problem to get qualified people to come and work. They've got surplus of those, and those people are really, they have a different mentality than your maybe normal Latin American mentality of, mañana, well, just chill. There's no point in killing yourself. Anyway, so because of that, you see, it's rather insidious in my point of view. It doesn't matter how you look at it, but it's not your complete takeover. China basically is financing things. Okay, we built this for you. You get a national stadium, but in return, we have this. And then I could remember, I don't know if it's Chinese or Taiwan. Anyway, they decided they were going to build something for Costa Rica or another country, and they, in return for that, they get access to the fishing coast, so they can come and fish in your waters. And so you have all those type of negotiations going on when it comes to infrastructure and diplomacy. You have also the Pinyin Facile Academia. I don't know what that is, but it seems like either you learn Chinese. That'll be pretty cool, learn Chinese, apart from just saying ni hao. Learn something a bit useful, not just anyway. The point is that yes, China builds the infrastructure. In return, you give them a piece of your infrastructure as well, so that they can make business. And all these shops that are in Chinatown now have mostly products coming directly from China, and they'll be competing with the local businesses. But the funny thing is, the local businesses are also, they were already buying in China, but now you have direct Chinese competition with the locals, where the margins would probably be even reduced further. So interesting story about the infrastructure and why China built the national stadium.